All right. Hi, everyone. Thanks for joining us. We're going to be starting here in another minute or so. All right. Let's get started. Oh, yeah. All right. Welcome, everyone. My name is Sal Pitty. Thanks for joining us today. This is one of the most important cybersecurity conversations that we've been having with clients. I watched a video not too long ago, which I'm about to share with you, as long as our technology works. Uh, but it's about how artificial intelligence is changing the landscape of online security, why your passwords might not be as safe as you think. In this session, we're going to share a video from Galactic that will break down how AI-powered tools are being used by both cybersecurity professionals and cyber criminals, and what that means for your personal and financial information. It'll cover quickly how AI can crack weak or reused passwords, the emerging threats you need to be aware of, and most importantly, what you can do to protect yourself. We have Nick Weatherwax from Info Advantage. He is our IT consultant. And after the it's a short video, it's 5 minutes long. After the video, he will take some questions and answers. There's a Q&A box at the bottom of your screen. You can click that, type in your question, and we'll stay and answer as many questions as we can if there are any. And Nick will talk about some of the best practices, tools like password managers, multi-factor authentication, and how to prepare for what's next. So let's jump right into it, and I am going to share my screen. Oh, and actually, before I do that, let me do this.
So you try again. You sit down at your desk and try to log in. Access denied. So you try again. Same result. Then your phone buzzes. Your password was changed. You didn't do it. That's not a bug. That's an AI-powered break-in, and it's already too late. You see, we've entered a new era of cyber attacks. Faster, smarter, and more dangerous than anything we have faced before. Here's the thing. Hackers aren't guessing passwords anymore. They're using artificial intelligence intelligence to steal them. Let me show you how it works. There's a new breed of attack called AI password spraying. It doesn't break down doors. Instead, it picks the lock in seconds. Scary, isn't it? These AI bots don't just try password 123. They're trained on billions of real-world stolen passwords leaked from past breaches. They know the patterns, the substitutions, your company name plus 2024 question mark, already cracked. The AI runs day and night, probing logins without tripping alarms. It tests thousands of accounts at once, using just a few known passwords that it's almost certain will work. That's how one AI bot can break into hundreds of systems in under an hour. You don't have to imagine this. It's already happening. Hackers have over 19 billion stolen passwords, real ones tied to email addresses from recent breaches, and only 6% of them were unique. 6%. Most were reused weak or default passwords like 123456 and admin. Because of this, cyber criminals can now launch massive attacks using these leaked credentials, easily breaking into accounts. This is one of the biggest password leaks ever, and it shows just how dangerous reused and simple passwords really are. An AI tool named PassGen was tested using these leaked password databases. It cracked 51% of all passwords in just under a minute. Entire nations are being hacked by AI to rapidly guess passwords for employee email accounts. Even though multi-factor authentication is often in place, the attackers can bypass it by stealing control of the victim's phone numbers, a trick called a SIM swap attack. Once they have the phone numbers, they intercept the MFA codes and get full access. Here's how they're getting in. Hackers find usernames, often from LinkedIn, email signatures, or leaked credential dumps. Then they run AI tools like PassGen to test common passwords. And if your account doesn't have MFA, it's just a matter of time. Think about how many of your logins are protected by just a password. That's the open door. And now the attackers are using super smart, specialized AI robots to pick your locks, thousands of times per second. This is no longer just about protecting your work login. If your personal email gets hacked, hackers reset your banking passwords, then bypass your work security. They impersonate you to clients and colleagues, stealing money, installing malware, compromising your entire team. And all it took was one bad password. So here's what you must do right now. Turn on multi-factor authentication for everything. Avoid SMS if possible, especially email, cloud apps, financial logins, and password managers. Next, know how to detect if a hacker is trying to bypass your MFA. If your phone suddenly loses service and you stop receiving calls or texts, you might be experiencing a SIM swap. You could also see unauthorized changes from your carrier or get locked out of accounts using SMS authentication. To prevent this type of attack, immediately set a PIN with your mobile provider and use app-based two-factor authentication instead of SMS whenever possible. Use a password manager. Let it create and store long, complex passwords. You only need to remember one. To generate that password, consider using the first letter of each of the words in a couple of sentences along with the punctuation. Here's a quick example, something you can use. HAQE period capital SYCU period. Need it to be longer? Use the first two letters for each word. Stop using patterns. No more company name 2024 period. No more password one exclamation point period. AI knows them all, and it can track them in just a few seconds. Focus on keeping your personal email account secure. It matters just as much as your business accounts. And don't ignore strange login alerts. A login from another country, a device you don't recognize, treat it like a break-in, because it is. You see, AI isn't coming. It's already here, and it's being used to crack your defenses faster than any human ever could. If you're still relying on passwords alone, you're not just vulnerable, you're a target. So lock the doors, enable MFA, use strong, unique passwords that were generated for you by a password manager. Because now the break-in is silent, it's automated, and it's already started.
All right. Well, I don't
Your
know.
screen's still being shared.
Oh, is it? Sorry about that. Mm, let's see. I'm still sharing. Give me that. All right. Nice. All right. Sorry about the buffering in the video. Um, but if that sort of thing doesn't scare the heck out of you, I'm not sure what will. But I can tell you, um, when I saw that video, it it hit home how quickly AI can take over someone's passwords. And in my business, protecting assets, protecting your accounts, protecting information is critical. That's the sort of thing that kind of keeps me up at night. Um, but I want to kind of open up the floor to Nick with Info Advantage to kind of answer some questions. Let's see. One question. Okay, can you send some more information? I think what we can do is actually send that recording. We're recording this presentation. We'll send it out to you, and you can listen to it at your leisure if you didn't catch everything. Like I said, it buffered a little bit. Some of the technology in sharing these videos sometimes does that. But any other questions? Nick, you want to share some thoughts on the topic?
Sure. Yeah, I think every time I watch that, I'm like, man, that definitely scares the bejeebies out of me. And I'm in the technology space. So, just a little background about myself. My name is Nick Weatherwax. I'm the Director of Technical Solutions at Info Advantage. And we send out this training through a partner of ours called Galactic Advisors. Um, I think a couple things from that video myself. I think there's a little some questions in the industry about AI in general, and I think there's questions. There's maybe some confusion. Um, People come to us and mostly they're AI curious. They don't know how they might be able to leverage AI within their industry. They don't want to get left behind. They want to leverage new and upcoming technology to maybe differentiate themselves, create some automation, but they don't necessarily come to us with a problem per se. They just want to know how they can use it. And it's a very open, broad question. And there's obviously chatbots like ChatGPT and different tools that we can use now, Copilot through the Microsoft ecosystem. But one thing's for certain, whether you understand AI or not, AI is definitely being used by attackers. One of the things that we've seen specific to cybersecurity is it used to be that you'd get an email and you kind of could tell it was in broken English and that you could kind of sniff out the fact that this is a phishing email, that someone's trying to steal my information because of the way it's written and how it sounds. Obviously, English isn't the first language of the person that wrote it. Now with AI, you can just put in a prompt and ask ChatGPT to formulate an email that sounds great, right? Indistinguishable from an actual human sending that email. So that's one way that attackers are using AI. And I think that for anybody, whether it's AI or not, cybersecurity is something that should be prioritized. And in today's day and age, MFA is not just a should we do it, it's a we need to do it. And a couple things about multi-factor authentication in particular is making sure that you're using an app on your phone that uses push notifications. So this could be like Google Authenticator, Microsoft Authenticator, or Duo. Those are some of the top ones that's actually sending you a push and not a text message. So in that video, it was mentioned about something called SIM swapping, which is an attack that's used to gain access to your phone and your phone number so that MFA, SMS, or text messages can be bypassed. So if you're using the push notification application app on your phone, you're not, subject to that type of attack. So turning on MFA, using an app. And then the last thing I'll say before we jump into some of these other questions, I see that we have some coming in, which is great, is making sure that you're taking length into consideration when you're forming a password. It used to be that we would recommend that you create a password that was at least 8 characters and like a combination of things, uppercase, lowercase, special character. Now, with AI and these types of attacks, all of those rules can kind of be thrown out the window. And the very most important thing about your password is that it's at least what we recommend is 15 characters long. Now, I know that sounds crazy, right? Because it's super hard to remember. Think of it more like a passphrase. Think of a phrase like, I like sunny walks on the beach in the afternoon. Like, that's easy to remember. And it's really long if that were your password. That's a great password to use instead of, business name 2024 with an exclamation point. So get in the habit of using passphrases and not passwords, and use a push-enabled application for multi-factor authentication. Oh, Sal, I think you're muted.
Sorry about that. I was
There you
muted.
go.
So I saw one person raise their hand. If you could just look at the bottom of the screen, there's a Q&A. Type in your question in that Q&A section. We'll be happy to go through. Looks like there's a question. I have most under the same password. Can I just change the very important ones like sales or banking and such, or does it matter for bills and credit cards?
I would say best practice is to make long and unique passwords for every account that you have. And here's the sad reality is that when you give someone your passwords, even the company that you're using that application for, they have your password, right? They need it to authenticate you. Well, if they get attacked, now all of their usernames and passwords that they've saved are harvested. And if you're using the same password across all your applications, now you're kind of subject to the most secure vendor partner application system that you've given that password to. So best practice, make a unique and long password for each account that you have.
Great. There's a question, how do you enable MFA, multi-factor authentication?
So that really depends on the application. So for email, as an example, through the Microsoft ecosystem or Gmail, a lot of the times this is enabled by default. If it's not, it would be a matter of going into that application or even asking the vendor of that application, depending on what it is, right? If you're signing into a partner portal, or even I think about personally like healthcare, like logging into the MyChart system and things like that. You usually have to go into the settings and turn it on. So some of them enforce it to be enabled by default. Others, you have to be the one to go in and actually turn it on.
I have a question. What is a push application or push notification?
So push is just a term we use for when an application sends you a notification. So maybe if you are familiar with Gmail or Microsoft Outlook, if you have those apps on your phone, or even like Instagram or like some of the more popular social media applications, if you get a notification that's pushed to you, it's the little red icon if you're on an iPhone with like the number that shows you how many notifications you have for that app. That's an example of a push notification. And the difference is that that's obviously not a text message. So those notifications, every time someone likes a post on Instagram, it's not that you get a text message, it's that you get a push notification through the Instagram app. So the same concept applies for multi-factor authentication, where you want to make sure that the app is giving you that notification and it's not coming in the form of an email or a text message, which can be easily bypassed and circumvented by attackers.
There was a recommendation that you might want to consider using a song chorus, 10 to 20 words. Very good idea.
Love it.
There was a comment, I keep a list of passwords for different websites and applications. I have 350 of them. That's a lot. How do you recommend we save passwords?
Okay, great question. So we live in a day and age where we are our passwords and we have to manage them in some way, right? If I'm recommending a 15 character long password, the very common and reasonable rebuttal is, well, how in the world do you expect me to remember that? And I don't. So that's why we recommend you use a password manager. So there's a few good ones out there. There's some that are free and there's some that are not. KeyPass is the name of one that is actually free for personal use, and you have to set that up and save what's called your password vault on your computer, but it's fully encrypted and can't be accessed without the master password. Now, there's some others that are centrally managed that we recommend you use for business use, and they're not free. So some good ones would be Keeper, KeyPass, LastPass. So these all are centrally managed, and what I mean is if you have employees, let's say, and you need to allow them to save passwords through this password manager application, you want to be able to manage them centrally in the sense that if they leave, retire, what have you, you can, as an administrator, go in and have access to those passwords for managerial purposes and things like that. So they're not tied necessarily to an individual. That's the benefit of a centrally managed password manager. But in either case, password managers are a great tool to help you randomize passwords. So a lot of times they have a password generator built into them that allows you to just randomly generate a really long password. And then it will allow you to copy it and paste it in to the password field when you go to log into that application. So now you don't even need to know your password for these different sites. It's just in the application. I will also say that a lot of our clients have a realistic fear of using password managers because, well, I'm giving all my passwords to this other application that has all my passwords in them, right? So securing your password manager is important. So you can, of course, restrict what IP addresses you can sign into your password manager from, what devices you can sign into your password manager from. Obviously, having multi-factor authentication enabled properly for your password manager. And I think I'll just boil it down by saying there's risk no matter what you do, right? If you want full and complete no risk from a cybersecurity standpoint, I recommend canceling your internet connection and throwing your phone away, right? But that's not necessarily realistic for everybody. So what can we do to manage the risk? And I think we make these types of decisions each and every day. I mean, there's a risk driving to work in the morning. There's a risk walking outside in a thunderstorm, right? So if you think about it from a cybersecurity standpoint, what risk is acceptable? And I'll just say that having a password manager is kind of the best option when it comes to managing risk and managing your passwords for your online accounts.
Nick, who do you recommend you share your passwords with? Like, should you give your passwords to your spouse? What happens if you get all your online information, your banking, your investments electronically? And the only way your spouse even maybe knows about some accounts is if they have your password and username and website, right? So, I mean, there's a certain point where you do have to let your loved ones know where your accounts are and how they're held. And, it might be a good idea to get paper statements once a year, um, in my opinion. Uh, I that's what I do. I know I get most of my stuff electronically, but I certainly get at least one statement a year and keep that for a few years. And it's just, I
Well,
guess,
I think, yeah, my first question would be, do you trust your spouse? But then using a password manager as an example, so that's funny, right? But realistically, what's the right answer? I think for me, the way I do it is I actually delegate access to my personal password manager to my wife. And there's ways within the application that allow you to do that. So you sign up and pay for one account, but then there's kind of like this break glass kind of account that you can put in there that delegates access to someone else. And I gave her strict instructions. I printed something off. I'm like, if I get hit by a bus tomorrow, you need to know how to log into our bank account. You need to know how to, do all these things that today even like our safe, like she doesn't know the combo to our safe. It's in my password manager, right? So all of that is handled just by sending her an invite through her email. And I'm like, mark this as a favorite. If something happens, go in, log in. I put notes and everything. I update it, right? Because as my password changes, I update it in the password manager. So that's just how I handle it. I think, if the paper copy option is honestly a great idea as long as you're securing that somehow, right? Maybe that goes in the safe and then you give the code to the safe to your spouse. But I think you're right, Sal. I think at
ultimately,
some point you have to share it.
ultimately, it requires some work. Do not be lazy about this stuff. Uh, you know, it, it's a pain in the butt. We all hate doing this stuff, but it's, it's gonna pay dividends down the road when you don't have to worry about your account being locked out or broken into and trying to retrieve assets back. So please don't be lazy about this. Do you recommend, or what's your opinion on Norton LifeLock or similar services?
Yeah, I think those are fine and good. I think a lot of times, honestly, when people do get hacked, organizations and your personal information gets stolen, they give you some kind of like LifeLock type of service. What those do essentially is just monitor all your personal information that exists on the web and see, if that were breached or stolen in some way. So I think they're for personal use, I think they're a great idea, right? Our business at Info Advantage, we focus mostly on business to business. So we don't necessarily, do a lot of that with our clients per se. But for individuals, I think it's a great idea. And it's not like a waste of money. But again, it kind of comes just down to your tolerance, what you're comfortable with. If nothing else, it might be kind of a peace of mind type of service.
Let's see here. I still have AOL. Is that an issue? I don't think it matters who your uh, web browser's through. Um, After entering a password, many times I get asked, do you want to save your password for this application? I see that a lot too. I don't know where my password would be saved. Do you recommend replying that we reply yes? Question mark.
All right, so this is a great question because where you're getting that prompt from is you're getting that prompt from a browser of some kind, an internet browser, whether it's Google Chrome, Microsoft Edge, Firefox, right? Each of them have built in the ability to cache, what's called cache your passwords. And what they're doing is they're saving your username and your password, and they're remembering what site you entered that password into so that when you visit it again, they autofill that password for you. Here's the problem. Those passwords are completely exposed if someone, a malicious actor or an attacker, is logged into your computer using your profile. So let me just paint an example. You get an email that looks normal and you're in a hurry, you accidentally click on the link. Turns out that link, it detonates malicious payload, and now an attacker has access not just to your computer, but to the profile that you're signed in with because you're the one that clicked on that link. So because your profile also has access to all of your cached passwords in the browser, the attacker then in theory has access to all your passwords. So caching passwords in a browser, although tempting and convenient, isn't the most secure way to save your passwords. Whereas with a password manager, they're always encrypted. So you kind of have this extra door that's shut at all times that your passwords hide behind. Whereas with a password manager, as long as you're logged in, right? Or I'm sorry, the browser, as long as you're logged in, your passwords are vulnerable and susceptible.
I'm using a Google Password Manager syncing across all devices. Is that good or bad?
Yeah, I think I'd say same rule of thumb here. There are for these password managers mobile applications too. So I would just recommend switching if you can. Yeah.
I'm not sure that this question applies to this webinar, but I get 10 to 15 spam calls daily that I don't answer. What are they getting from me? Anything?
I mean, what that tells me is that somewhere along the line, your phone number is on some kind of list, and your data and your information is being sold online. Um, what I would recommend you do is I would recommend that you do a dark web analysis to see what else might be out there. So these services are free. You can go on our website and you can fill out a form, contact us, and we can perform one of those for you. At no charge, and we can just see like, okay, well, what's out there? Email, phone, whatever, and it'll tell you, okay, this account from 2005, you signed up for notifications for Kohl's.com and Kohl's got hacked, and that may be where that is coming from. Now, at this point, if they have it, the question is now what? Block the number, change your
Right.
number. So that
I
exercise,
think I think
yeah,
we all get them. Just don't
yeah,
answer. Anybody
right.
that's not on my contact list, I don't answer the phone.
That's actually a
They can
feature in
they
the
can leave a
iPhone now.
message.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, right. If it's
Yep.
important, leave a message. Do password managers, keypads import passwords, or do they need manual input?
You can import them. So if you export passwords from one, like let's say Chrome, you can import them easily to a password manager.
And looks like this might be the last one. What if you get hacked and you can't log into your phone or iPad? What do you do? And can your Yahoo account get hacked? How do you know? What do you do?
Well, I think the overarching question there is like, how do I know I've gotten hacked? And if I do, what do I do in either case, whether it's a Yahoo account or a different account? I would recommend you just change your password. You rotate it every X amount of days, every 90 days or so. That way, if someone, God forbid, does access your information, they only have it for a short period of time, or that you're always going to rotate your password every 90 days. So they would have it for, at worst case scenario, that amount of time. Most of these sites, though, they'll notify you that there's like a suspicious login from an unknown or not recognized device. Yahoo, as an example, is maybe one of the more secure email options, ironically, because they were responsible for the largest and second largest data breach back in 2010 or something. And they've beefed up their security at this point in response to those incidents in a good way, right? So the fact that you're using Yahoo doesn't, it's not like a bad thing in any way.
And if you can't get into your sounds like if you can't get into your phone or iPad, what's next? Sounds like a trip to the
Yeah. Well,
laboratory.
if we're talking about an iCloud account, usually there's recovery options. Ultimately, Apple will help you. Like if your actual like PIN code on your phone, if you get locked out, you have to go into the store and they'll unlock it for you.
Yeah, good. Great questions. Let me see. There might be one more. Oh, what's the free password keeper you mentioned?
Yeah, I can send that sale to you, and then maybe in your follow-up, we'll include that in the details. It's
Okay,
called KeePass, KeePass.
thanks. And how much can you trust LifeLock or password managers with all my personal information? I think you covered that a little bit. There's nothing that's completely safe. LifeLock has been hacked before. They've made a settlement. They've probably beefed up their security over the years. I mean, if I was a hacker, uh, I would try to hack password managers or LifeLock. That would be my first target because they have all your information. But these companies have state-of-the-art technology. They're using artificial intelligence to battle artificial intelligence. There's nothing that's, I would say, truly safe. And correct me if I'm wrong, Nick, but you just again have to keep your changing your passwords periodically, monitor your accounts, get paper copies occasionally, use multi-factor authentication if possible, use those push notifications. And just like Nick said, there's nothing that's completely safe. So it's important that you do your due diligence on controlling your personal identifiable information. It has to be probably the most vulnerable spot of this technology is your passwords. So try to keep those a little bit more complicated than password 123, and use some of the suggestions that Nick had mentioned earlier. We've recorded this. We'll send it out. If you guys have any specific questions afterwards, shoot us an email, and we'll try to get them answered for you. Otherwise, thanks, Nick, and thanks everybody for joining us. Appreciate it, and enjoy the rest of your day.
Thanks, everyone.
Bye-bye.